Bluey at Disneyland looks like a simple new family offering. A live show, themed snacks, merch, a fun little extra for parents with young kids. But the more you look at it, this feels less like a small park add-on, and more like Disney doing something much bigger. The real story here is not just that Bluey showed up at Disneyland, it's that Disney is turning Bluey into a full-on ecosystem, and Disneyland is one of the first places where you can actually see that happening in public. At Disneyland, Bluey isn't arriving as a ride or a full land. Instead, Disney built this as a flexible live entertainment offering inside Fantasyland Theater. Bluey's Best Day Ever turns the space into a Bluey-themed environment inspired by Bluey's school, with Bluey and Bingo appearing on stage throughout the day alongside performers and musicians. And around that, Disney added the other pieces you'd expect from a serious IP rollout: themed food, themed merchandise, and a physical space where families can turn something they know from a TV or streaming show into part of a park day. That matters because this is more than a meet and greet. This is Disney taking a streaming relationship and giving it a real world footprint. And as an actual Disneyland offering, I came away with mixed but mostly positive impressions. The performers were strong, the new food was well themed and generally delicious, and kids absolutely lit up seeing Bluey and Bingo in person. But the show itself felt a little too long. On the day I watched it, it seemed to struggle to hold audience attention all the way through, and the audience steadily thinned out until only about 2/3 were left by the finale. So the character appeal is clearly there, but the pacing of the show may still need some work. Now, if this were just a random character coming alive in the parks, that would be one thing. And if you're not especially familiar with Bluey, it would be easy to dismiss this as just another little kids offering. But Bluey is not a random character. Bluey is one of the biggest family brands in the world right now. And importantly, it didn't start as a Disney-born franchise. It was created by Joe Brum, produced by Ludo Studio in Australia, and built as a distinctly Australian show through ABC and BBC Studios. That's what makes this more interesting than a normal Disneyland edition. Disney isn't just pulling something out of its own vault here. It's taking a massively successful outside property that already has trust, loyalty, and repeat viewing, and plugging it into the Disney machine. That's a very different kind of move. So why would Disney go this big on Bluey now? Because Bluey isn't just popular, it's massive. Disney Plus says Bluey was the #1 most streamed program in the US in 2025 for the second year in a row. That's an absurdly strong position for a family brand. And once a show gets to that level, the next question for Disney is obvious. How do you take something people already watch constantly at home and turn it into something they experience, buy into, and build memories around in the real world? That's exactly what this looks like. Disney already has the audience, now it's building an environment for that audience to experience. And this is where the Disneyland shows start to look less like a one-off and more like one piece of a coordinated rollout. Back in December 2024, Disney announced that Bluey would be joining Disneyland Resort, Walt Disney World, and Disney Cruise Line. Then in 2026, Disneyland launches this Fantasyland theater experience. Disney Plus expands its Bluey offerings again, and the Bluey movie is already on the calendar for 2027. This isn't random timing, this is Disney building layers. Streaming keeps the audience engaged, parks make the brand physical, the cruises turn it into a vacation memory, the movie turns it into an event. And when you stack all that together, Bluey starts to look less like a show Disney streams and more like a serious franchise inside the Disney ecosystem. Disneyland may actually be one of the smartest places Disney could do this, because Disneyland lets Disney test Bluey as a physical experience without committing to a permanent attraction right away. A theater-based experience is faster, more flexible, and a lot less risky than building a ride, but it still accomplishes almost everything Disney needs it to. Visibility, social sharing, merchandise sales, food tie-ins, repeat family interest, and a strong emotional connection in the park. In other words, Disneyland gets to function like a live test laboratory. If families show up, engage, post about it, and spend money around it, that tells Disney a lot. Not just about Bluey at Disneyland, but about how far this IP can go inside Disney's broader experiences business. And honestly, Bluey fits Disneyland better than some people might expect, because Bluey is built around play, not spectacle or lore, not giant action set pieces, but play. Imagination, movement, games, music, family interaction. Not surprisingly, this translates well into a live Disney park setting, especially one aimed at young families. Disney didn't just drop Bluey into a random format. It picked one of the few formats that actually matches what Bluey is at its core. That's why this makes more sense as an interactive theatrical experience than, say, a passive character photo spot or even a passive stage show. The brand works best when people are participating. So I think the real reveal here is this. Bluey at Disneyland is not just Disney adding a cute show for little kids. It's Disney proving that Bluey can live inside an ecosystem the same way its traditional IP franchises would. And this is a big deal, because Bluey isn't a traditional Disney created or cultivated IP franchise. Despite this, Disney is still using its strongest channels streaming, parks, cruises, theatrical distribution to make Bluey feel bigger, more embedded, and more permanent for families. Disney didn't invent Bluey, but it clearly sees huge value in being the company that turns Bluey from a hit show into a live Disney experience. That's the biggest story hiding in this relatively simple Disneyland offering. Disneyland may be giving us a first glimpse of what Bluey could look like if Disney ever gives it the full immersive treatment it gives its biggest IPs. So now the real question is this the ceiling for Bluey in the parks? Or is this just Disney's first real test of how far it can go? Because if Bluey keeps performing at this level on streaming, in the parks, and eventually in theaters, this is definitely not the last major move. Do you think Bluey at Disneyland is just a smart, limited time offering for young families? Or the beginning of something much bigger for Disney? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.